Hey everyone, Sheila here from Lifewithpets. So today we are going to start a video series. So we're going to call this one episode 1, and we are going to start with choosing a betta fish tank, and then we are going to follow that process through all the way through to adding a betta to a tank and then how to maintain a tank. So this is going to be a full series from start to finish on choosing a tank, then everything that you need to own a betta or fish in general, then setting up a brand new tank. We're going to do that. We're going to cycle a tank right from the very start, so we're not going to use pre-cycled media. We are going to cycle it just like anybody else would cycle a tank. We're then going to add the betta fish to the tank, and then we're going to do water changes and maintenance to show how you take care of a tank. So I'm hoping that this is going to answer a lot of the questions that we get on a daily basis, and I am sure we're going to have forgotten things within this, and maybe we can do a Q&A at the end of this whole series. I am going to try and do 2 videos a week so that you don't have to wait quite as long. So today we're going to be talking about choosing a tank and all the things that you have to think about that can help save money in the long run. Tank sizes, we're going to talk about all that. So let's go and take a look at some tanks. Okay, so I have probably the 3 most popular tanks that are used for betta fish: the 2.5 gallon, the 5.5 gallon, and then the 10 gallon tank. These are probably the most popular used, and so these are the ones I'm going to talk about in this video. Okay, so where do we find our tanks? This one came from PetSmart, and they usually do come with the lid. They are about $13, and this is the 2.5 gallon one. Sometimes the lid is not with them, but if you ask an assistant, they very often will go in the back and actually get a lid for you. So if you find them on the shelves without a lid, then I would just ask, and I'm sure that they can find one for you. Now the 5.5 gallon tank we actually got from a thrift store, and it is part of a set. It did come with the filter and the lid, and then if it was in its original state, then it also would have come with the light as well. So this one would be what you would call like a kit aquarium, and those you can buy, again, I mean those you can actually buy in Walmart or in just sort of the bigger box stores. Plus again, you can find them online as well. Now our 10 gallon tank, that one also came from a thrift store, and the thing with thrift stores is you can get some really good bargains at thrift stores or the $1 per gallon sale at Petco. So you're looking at spending $5 to $10 depending where you get it. The thing to watch out for is if they're really dirty, that actually is quite easy to clean up. You can either do a vinegar and water solution, and very often that will clean up anything that you need to get off the tank. Also, you do need to watch out with the inside of the tank that the silicone is intact. If you're an experienced owner, then that is not going to be a problem because you could actually repair it. But if not, then always make sure that the silicone is intact, because obviously you don't want the tank cracking and leaking. So they're the things to watch out for. Tanks are relatively cheap to buy, and so these basically range, in fact the smallest here is the 2.5 gallon, and that one was dearer than we paid for the 5.5 and the 10 gallon as well. So you can see that even just having the smaller one is not necessarily the most cost effective. So when choosing the tank, try and think of the long-term goal. What is it that you want out of owning a fish? In the long run, are you maybe wanting to add live plants? Are you wanting to maybe do a divided tank? Are you wanting to hopefully have your betta fish live with other fish? Are you wanting to add a snail? These are all things that you need to take into account when choosing the tank size, because if you change your mind maybe 3 or 4 months down the line, then you're going to have to buy a bigger tank to be able to accommodate the things that you're wanting to do. Now, don't get me wrong, live plants can go in all of these tanks. That doesn't make any difference whatsoever. But if you're wanting to add company for your betta fish, which the betta fish doesn't really need company, but if you're wanting to add things into the tank like snails or other fish, then you are going to need a bigger tank. So if you're wanting snails, then it's going to have to be the 5.5 gallon or the 10 gallon. If you're wanting other fish, then it needs to be the 10 gallon and maybe even a 20 gallon. So they're things that if you think about those now, they will save you money in the long run. Also think about the fact that these tanks, they're all what I call separates, in which case I am going to add my own light and my own filter. If you don't want to do that, then a kit might be the way to go for you. With that will basically have everything in it that you need to start the tank. But again, you need to think ahead with that. Is the kit you're going to buy, if you choose live plants, is the light going to be good enough? Is the kit going to have a good enough filter? Is it going to be too strong? Am I going to be able to adjust it so that the flow is right for the betta fish? These are all things that you need to think about before buying the tank for that fish. The reason that we choose to do what I call separates is so that I can then dictate what goes in each tank. So for instance, in all of these tanks, if these were going to be for betta fish, then they would have sponge filters, because to me they are the perfect filter for a betta fish, and then I will then just pick a light that is suitable for the tank. It won't be too strong if it's like for the smaller tank, and it will be strong enough for the bigger tank. Now if you're not wanting live plants, you don't have to have a light on the tank. Obviously a light is a good thing to have, but you don't have to have it. But you do need a lid of some sort, because betta fish do love to jump. So one option that people don't even realize is available, and that is divided tanks. Now I do want to give a disclaimer here, because as most of you know, we do sell these dividers, and we sell an awful lot of them. I have not put this segment in here because we sell them or to plug our dividers. I have put this segment in here as it is a viable option of something that you need to think about when choosing a tank. So if you think that you want maybe more than one fish in a tank, then dividing it is a good way to go for betta fish. I would not divide anything less than a 5.5 gallon, and my preference is the 10 gallon, because that then means the fish is then getting 5 gallons per side, which obviously is a good size tank for a betta fish. So while we're talking about tank size, the general recommended minimum is 2.5 gallons for a betta fish. However, I do think that a 5.5 gallon is probably better, and then even 10 or 20 gallons after that. We actually do have a 75 gallon female betta fish tank, but that's a whole other story. So as you can see, tank sizes can range. It is such a myth that betta fish can live in these little tiny bowls, and they don't need filters, they don't need heaters, they don't need all these things. Betta fish are a tropical fish just like any other tropical fish, and they have the same requirements. So minimum is 2.5. If you can get bigger, as I have shown in this video, can often be cheaper to get a bigger tank than it is to get a smaller 2.5 gallon. So think about the welfare of the fish when you're choosing a tank, and go for the biggest tank that you can afford. So I hope this video has given you some tips on what to think about when choosing a betta fish tank. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the items that we need to set up a betta fish tank, and the supplies that we need for the long-term health of the fish and the long-term caring of them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions to do with choosing a betta fish tank, just leave them in the comments box below, and I will do my best to answer as many of them as we can. I will leave links in the description box below to some of the items that we've talked about as well. We do that in all our videos, so if you're wanting extra information, then just take a look in that description box. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed to this channel and you want to see more videos like this, then please do so, and we'll see you next time.